Hi everyone, I'm Michael Manrique and I'm one of the Habit Guys. We teach realtors prospecting habits when they finally become top producing agents. And welcome to the Realtor Habits Podcast, where agents don't need more stuff, they need better habits. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know this episode is brought to you by our Habit Guys Facebook group. We all want to prospect consistently and be more organized. Well, to do that, we need to think, do, and act like a top producer. Watch us prospect live and teach you every week for free in our free Facebook group how to get more expired listings, FSBOs listings, how to connect with your sphere, how to really learn how to not sound salesy, but instead just serve and make friends. Watch the highs and lows that come with prospecting in real time and get the opportunity to ask questions in the moment. All you have to do is visit us at habitguys.com/Facebook. Again, that's habitguys.com/Facebook, and learn all the skills top producers use in their day-to-day business. If you know anyone that can gain value from this podcast, please do us a huge favor and share it with them. We're here to help as many realtors as possible, and we appreciate your help to do so. All right, let's get into today's episode. Today's episode is called The 3 Must-Have Skills to Grow Your Network and Build Relationships.
Relationships.
So this is obviously like the key to every real estate agent's business, right? And really, it's so funny because it's the core of it, right? Like it's so simple. It's so fundamentally simple to think about, right? It's just like, oh, I need to connect with people to get business, yet we make this sound so difficult, right? We make it so hard. So in this episode, we're going to talk about those 3 skills that are just critical, must-haves to grow your network and build relationships. So let's get right into it. So skill number 1 is, you guessed it, effective communication.
Oh man, I remember the meme I showed you today with the pilot on the microphone.
Oh yeah.
Like the microphone's in his mouth,
yep,
and he doesn't sound clear at all.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's eating the microphone like a pilot. Hello.
Yeah.
Well, that's how some real estate agents sound.
Right.
Like when you, man, on these calls, because we listen to our coaching, to our students' calls.
Right.
So we're actually one of the fewest companies out there that actually listen to your calls live. And then Mike and I, we realized, holy smokes, man, there's a huge gap. No wonder agents are struggling in their business, because they may know the script, or feel confident saying, but then when you go to game time, they're not clear.
Right.
They're talking way too fast, or way too slow, or not asking questions, which we're going to get to on this one, right?
Right.
Which is huge. And they're not taught how to have clear communication.
Right.
You know?
So like fundamentally, I would say like a strategy that we just want to understand, just very basic, is just mirroring the person on the phone. We're talking about mirroring their tone and their cadence, right?
Absolutely.
And you might find someone that's maybe from the South, generally, I'm just speaking in general basis, where they just speak slower, because it's just their culture. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, they just speak slower. So what are we going to do? Are we going to just, what's the little Mighty Mouse, the one that would run fast?
Oh, Speedy Gonzalez.
Speedy Gonzalez, yes. Are we going to Speedy Gonzalez through the script?
Correct.
No, of course not, because we're not going to connect with them. They're not going to understand what we're saying. No, we want to match their cadence and their tone.
Absolutely.
So, and then they're like, hey, I know you. And it's not a cognitive thing.
No.
It's a feel thing, right? They feel instinctually. They're getting information through their ears, and they're saying, I feel safe with this person, so I'm going to keep speaking to them.
And people feel more comfortable with people that they tend to sound like,
absolutely,
look like,
yep,
same hobbies, same interests. You tend to have a natural draw to those folks. So yes, if I were to pick up someone like Blitz, Bama Blitz, and they're from the South,
oh boy,
is that a good accent for the South?
I think that's horrible.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So in Alabama,
what's Blitz?
It's like Alabama. What they say in Alabama football, they're like Blitz, Bama Blitz.
Football.
Yeah, it's an Alabama thing.
Oh, I thought they were like at the grocery store and they're saying
no. This is like a football thing.
Oh,
they're
okay.
like Blitz, Bama Blitz. It's
Oh,
like
okay.
It's like Alabama. Sorry about that, guys. We'll get sidetracked.
Yeah,
quick.
yeah.
But guys, I would say my cadence from a 1 to 10, I would say my cadence speaking is probably like an 8, 9, maybe 9, 10, whatever, wherever you're from. So, but if I call someone and the first thing I hear from them is, hello? And they're talking at a level 3 or 4, like Mike said, do you think I'm going to be like the Speedy Gonzalez and go, hey, how you doing? My name is Andy. I'm an EXP agent. I have a couple questions for you. Can I ask you a question? Like, no. Like, immediately, this lady's going to go, what the? She may, like Mike says, cognitively, she may not be aware of it, but she's going to, like, reject it in a way that's like, wait a minute, this guy speaks way too fast. Like, what's going on? So I tend to downshift there, right? You want to mirror. Now, I'm not going to speak at that level either, guys. We're not saying mirror exactly, but you kind of want to speed up or slow down depending on the cadence of the person you're calling. Because guys, we only have limited time on the phone call. And if you give anybody, and we said this today before the podcast, man, if you're every word matters. And if your tone, your cadence is too much, and if you're not aware of this, you're going to drop the ball. And people out there that are like, well, they just have to accept me for who I am. I'm just being me. Well, really, what does that even mean? Because you being you is just an outcome of the environment you grew up in, the household you grew up in, the school you went to. So you're running on a script, right? So why don't you learn how to properly communicate with people and learn these strategies and apply them, and you'll see how much better those conversations will go for.
Right. Another tactic I want to give to begin effective communication, and this is in our scripts. So if you want our scripts, go to habitguys.com/free. Again, that's www.habitguys.com/free.
This is a game changer.
So
we love this one.
What you want to do, actually, it's a must do. You have to do this is at the very beginning, at the onset of the conversation, you are going to ask for permission to continue the conversation. You're going to ask for permission to ask specifically a quick question. That's right.
That's it.
A quick question. Not a quick question, but a quick question.
Quick question.
And that's really important to understand because it allows them to open the door, drop the red carpet to have further conversations. And what I get asked by new students when I share this with them, this logic with them, is that they think, well, people are just going to say no. But in fact, if we understand just human psychology, it's in our best interest as human beings to connect. We are social species, right? It's within ourselves to be like that. So if we ask like this by saying, hi, I'm Michael. I'm a local agent. I know you weren't expecting my call, but do you mind if I ask you a quick question? All of a sudden, that trust, that, oh, you know what? This is not going to take too much of my time. Yeah, sure. And in fact, 7 out of 10 times, they're going to say yes to that question.
Yeah.
And this is what's really important to understand is that the heart of what you're doing here should be coming from a place of servitude. We're here to help them. Yes, primarily from real estate, but at the end of the day, we have to prove to them that that this is actually a relationship. And for it to be a relationship, we need to care about them beyond real estate. And we'll be talking about that in just a moment. Okay, so just to recap, the tactic you want to use is number 1, just get our scripts so you can literally see what we say.
Correct.
And number 2 is ask for permission constantly. We don't just do it once or twice or 3 times. It's throughout the script, we are empowering the person on the phone to exit the call. But in fact, the way that we ask things, we're actually forcing them to say yes.
And that's, Mike, you nailed it there. When someone doesn't feel like they have a choice to get out of the conversation, they're going to reject you.
Yep.
And you're giving them permission to leave the conversation. Because who wants to be forced in a conversation, right? They could be busy. They can be doing something else in the middle of something, whatever. And also, you level out the playing field because now you're coming from a control position. Hey, my name is Andy. I know you weren't expecting my call. I'm a local real estate agent. Do you mind if I ask you a quick question? Done. Instead of vomiting information, which I used to, so you know, I used to just vomit information down and go down right people's throat. And guys, how annoying is it when a telemarketer or someone calls you and it's inconsiderate for you to just go right through the conversation and not ask them for permission. Like, there's so many levels to this that, yes, and you're giving them a way out. And then the beautiful part is, once they say yes, oh man. Like
Yeah.
you said, Mike, right? They laid out the carpet for you now. Now you're entering a whole different comfort zone in the conversation. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I guess one of the things that we want to understand when it comes to building relationships, the metaphor I like to give, it's thinking of relationships like a bank account. We need to credit into that bank account before we could debit it. Otherwise,
Absolutely,
it's going to go negative and the relationship is going to fail.
That's true.
So the way that we begin to credit is by asking for permission. It's by them saying, yes, go ahead and ask me that quick question.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about the second must-have skill to grow your network and build relationships. That's building trust through authenticity and integrity.
So being a good human being.
Yes. So let's talk about our scripts. At the foundational level, we're trying to accomplish two things. We're either getting to know KNOW, know them because they're opening up to us, they're letting us ask questions, they're telling us their motivation, their timeline for things, right? Or their wants, their needs, their desires, right? They're letting us know them, KNOW, or our script is getting to NO, the other no, okay?
Yeah.
And this is really important because foundationally for yourself, for your self-worth, empowerment, understanding that at the core, that's what we're doing, that allows you to move on to the next call. It allows us to understand the truth in the situation, to understand that we've maximized the potential with that individual on the phone, and we can move on to the next call, okay? So one of the things that now that we understand that fundamentally we're trying to get to know them, or to know, N-O, right? One of the other things that we want to keep in mind of is that we're ultimately here to make friends. So we're not here to sell. And this is more of a mindset shift, right?
Correct.
Than a practical shift. Of course, we're trying to get business.
Absolutely.
Right? But the way that we treat people, more importantly, the way we react to information. For most of my new students, when they hear no to, is the property still available? You know, are you open to selling if you received an offer that made financial sense? And they hear no, well, the response from the student is negative or not to their liking because it's not meeting their expectations. So their tone changes. Maybe they get a little defensive. You know, maybe they just end the call abruptly.
Yeah,
and they don't maximize the potential of the conversation with the contact. Ultimately, if we can't serve someone today, that doesn't mean we can't serve them in the future.
Yep.
And that's what our script does. We have we use a baseball diamond metaphor: home, first, second, third base, right? Home base, first base, second base,
Why'd
third
you say
base.
home first?
I don't know. I don't know. I always
Oh,
as a batter. As a batter, I start at home.
As a batter, you started
yeah.
at home first.
But you're
I was
right.
wondering.
It's
I was
first
like,
base is first.
wow.
Yeah.
So hit that base hit first.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
So,
cool, but I like that.
but nonetheless, when first base is serving the prospect from a real estate perspective. So imagine you got your baseball uniform on, you got your baseball cap on, right? And you go to swing and see if you could hit a home run from a real estate perspective. Well, they say no. You strike out. What does that mean? No, you don't leave the field. No, you're just going to go in the stands and you're going to put on your friend hat and you're going to start a conversation with someone in the stands. And this is what second base allows us to do, okay? So again, just get our scripts, understand how to speak and connect to build relationships, even though they can't serve you from a real estate aspect, you can definitely serve them from a friend aspect by seeing how you could serve them either through vendors or other opportunities that our scripts provide.
Yeah, because so many agents stop at the first no, right? They get resistance, they hang up the phone. So we call that like first base. So our students, they go to second base, they go to third base, and so think about the muscle, quote unquote, you're building by going deep into a conversation. Because the deeper you can go into a conversation, right? Even if they have an agent, you still want to connect them with the vendor. You still want to see if they need anything. You still care about them. They're going to be like, dang. Because guys, you don't know, that person may leave their agent in the next 2-3 weeks. And then they're going to think about what an amazing job you did. Because remember, every phone call is also an audition for the job. And if you leave the first moment of resistance, do you think they're going to trust you with a multi-million-dollar negotiation where you're going to have to talk to the other agent and you're going to balk at them? But if you come at them with, we call them, yes, objection handling, but in an authentic, loving way, even if they're with another agent or if they're not interested, Or if they're a FISBO, when we congratulate them for wanting to be a FISBO, that's in our scripts. Download it. Yes, because we want to be friends with them. We don't want to be adversaries. We're not there to convince anybody to do anything that they don't want to do.
Right.
So when you start building that muscle, which our base structure allows you to do, now, instead of you stopping on the first sign of resistance, now you're getting through it. It's not as scary anymore to prospect. And now you're like, wait a minute, this is not a big deal. It's okay. And you start psychologically, you start reframing what resistance actually means on a phone conversation.
So not only that, so it also feels better. When you feel better, you do things again. This is the cycle of building a habit, okay? If you feel a sense of progress, you are most likely going to take that action again. When you feel discontent, frustrated, disappointed, that's when we stop taking consistent action.
Yeah, because it's painful. It's horrible. Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely. So from a practical sense, you have to shift your mindset so you feel better about what you're doing. And what I hear constantly from students is that the actual prospect on the phone will say to them, "No one's ever talked to me like this."
What a compliment that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I love it.
So there you go. So that's how you build trust and authenticity and integrity so you can grow your network and build relationships. Now we understand the foundation to that. Now the last skill is strategic networking.
Absolutely. Because I think a lot of agents are not intentional with their conversation or their networking, right? They just show up and I just talk to whoever I'm around. I just see whoever I'm around. And that's it. And I notice this a lot when I go to networking events where you go to a networking event or a conference, and what do we usually do? We normally go to the people we know and we stay there, and that's it. And we don't go to to strangers, to different people, and we do that just overall as as humans, right? So we have to be intentional and catch ourselves to get out. And I hear this a lot on my sales calls, where I hear agents struggling and they're just calling the same people. They get leads that come to them and they call their sphere, and they're just going to the same washed out lead. And they're like, well, people don't want to sell. Well, because they're only talking to the same people over, and they feel comfortable with them, but they're not expanding into the new strangers, right? To new people, to new things. So you have to get out of this mindset of like a vacuum that you're only doing, you have to talk to new people, whether it's new people warm, that's your sphere, or new people cold, like FISBOs and expireds. And all.
The way you want to think about it is just think about the average wedding, right? The average wedding probably has anywhere, around 150 to 200 people. So let's just say on average, every person on average knows about 100 people.
Correct.
If you were to grab someone's cell phone and actually have them go through the phone, you'll have 100 contacts in there. Not names or numbers, right? I'm talking about people they know. They'll say, oh yeah, I know that person. I could call that person 100, okay? So then your goal is to get to know each sphere's contact 100 people, okay? So imagine if you had 250 sphere contacts that they know you, you know them. That's 25, if you multiply that times 100, 250 times 100, that's 25,000
potential
contacts,
right there,
prospects, okay? That's your mission. That's your community, okay? And we are not marketing to them.
It's free. It's absolutely free.
We are there to connect with them, to help them, to be a service to them, okay? And that's your mission at the core, because that's the easiest conversation to have. So when we actually teach a concept called Supersphere, right? Supersphere. And what this does is just what I started hinting at. We focus on locating your 250 sphere contacts that you know with absolute certainty and clarity that they would refer you business, okay? And once we understand that, within that script, one of the main focuses of that script is providing value and understanding what vendor you can help them with. So a great way to network is by building your unpaid sales force. That's right. Imagine having an unpaid sales force out there in the market talking about you. Yep. So what you want to do is you want to first start off with one vendor. Who's the most popular vendor in your market right now? What is the service that's needed in your market right now? What your goal is to speak to as many of your sphere contacts asking about that vendor, that service. Do they know someone? On a scale from 1 to 10, if they were to rate that service that they might know someone of, okay, let's just be more specific. Let's say it's a HVAC company, right? An air maintenance, an AC maintenance company or something like that, right? You would ask them, oh, that's awesome. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, how would you rate them? And if it's not a 10, guess what opportunity you have? You can now find that level 10 vendor and then share it with them, right? And now guess what? When you go to actually connect with the vendor, because that's ultimately how we're going to grow, build this unpaid sales force. Now, when you go to speak with that vendor, you're going to come with referrals, right? Because you spoke to your database, right? And you have, 3 to 10 referrals. And when you go to sit down with them or call them, speak to the owner, the decision maker, what have you, now you can ask them, follow our sphere script and see if they know a realtor see if they would refer you business. Okay?
And by the way, if you want to download that script, go to habitguys.com/free to download the sphere script. Because guys, I hear, and you may be thinking this, oh, well, my sphere already knows who I am. I already spoke to them. No. As you can tell with Mike, what he's telling you, we're intentional, we're specific, we're adding value to the phone calls. We're not asking directly for referrals either. Like, oh, hey, do you have any referrals for me? No, we are in a different way, which the script goes over and our programming goes over. So make sure you download it. And you're adding value to those conversations. Because can you imagine you have 250 people in your database that's working for you, in essence, right? But recommending you. And also the vendors will be recommending you business too, because you're going to be sending them business. So this is what we call being intentional. This is what it's called learning how to talk to your sphere and building value. You don't naturally just become this person. Okay, guys? This is not just, you don't just wake up with this gift and you learn how to do this. This is why getting lessons works. You don't just wake up and become a really good golfer. This is something that you work on. This is something you get lessons on. This is something you get coaching on. And this is what it's all about.
Absolutely. So there you have it. So those are the three different skills, the must-have skills to grow your network and build your relationships. All right. So that wraps up this episode. So here is the missing piece to your business. It's accepting that when you know better, you do not necessarily do better. You do better when you change your habits. Let us help.